How you guys doing? This is my first video for Clone Evolutions or Clone Evolutions, however you'd like to call it. Um, Big Beefy level 78, VIP 7. Um, this is a game that's listed as a idle RPG, but in most cases, the only portion of this game that is idle is a campaign, and that is for the experience farming um, portion or feature of the game. There's a couple issues with this experience farming just because uh, I won't get too deep into it. I'll explain later. Maybe you guys can ask me questions and I'll answer them. A lot of the features in the game in the early stages are not available. So usually I think around level 50 you have everything unlocked. Getting to level 50 only takes about two weeks, so it doesn't take too long. You kind of hit a wall around level 60 and it's a lot slower. But I'll explain some of these features to you as I go on. Expedition, in like many games, is a crucible or a continued arena of the sorts. Your health doesn't replenish, and you keep progressing forward, and the enemies get harder and harder. I'll start a tips and tricks of Expedition video later. Don't want to condense you guys with, bombard you guys with too much information. And as you can see, I just had a fight and collect my reward. And as you notice, my health from the previous fight hasn't replenished. So basically, this is an ongoing arena match event. The Tavern is similar to very many other games where you do little side quests and they all have requirements. For example, this one requires one water element and a 3-star minimum, as well as a power requirement. Currently, all my characters are being used up for other missions, so I don't have anything that can meet the requirement of this one. So I can't show you much more regarding to that. Casino is basically your run-of-the-mill, slot machine kind of thing. My advice to you for the casino is to always do an 8 draw or 8 chip draw with a 10 times, because you're getting the most out of your chips. And aim for these purple transgenic enzymes, because they're really hard to get, and they're probably one of the most important aspects of this game. So always try to get that transgenic enzyme, but that's I'll do a slot pull one of these days and show you how hard it is to get those enzymes. The equipment lab is your upgrade center for all your equipment in the game. Most games like to provide you with the equipment level up option when you're on your hero selection screen, but this actually has a very a separated element of it. Most of the time, I just like to here, for example, this is they made this a recently new option where you can bulk disassembly, so it's pretty nice. For example, simple as that, star level up, just that. There's not much to it. Max is 5 stars. These exotic items are really hard to get, but they do provide huge bonuses. So even if my characters are level 70, you'll see that they're all rocking lower level oranges just because they're that much more effective. And those are set items, which I'll explain a little later. Supply Depot, they just fixed it recently where you can now access all currency exchanges through the supply depot. It used to only be things. It was a regular market before. You could only buy things with either gems or your in-game gold currency. It's different now, where it makes it really easy to just buy whatever you want for whatever currency you're using, be it arena, tavern, expedition, and your friends' coins or your guild coins. Not much detail to go into that. Campaign, available from level 1. I said earlier, the issue about campaign is that certain if you're trying to farm a certain hero and you're trying to gain their pieces, you may have to go back a few. But essentially what that does is it puts you at the rate of experience gained at that stage and not at the stage you're in. So if I wanted to farm this guy's fragments, I'd have to sit here and take a huge hit from 78 experience a minute, is when I'm currently getting 270. And sometimes You can farm fragments from different stages, but in a lot of the cases I've seen so far, you have to go back quite a few and take a huge hit in experience. So it's not worth it because you always want to constantly move forward. I haven't gotten too far into the campaign, so I don't have much else to say. If you guys have any questions, comments about the campaign, I'll do my best to answer them. Event Center. This is new, so I'm not entirely sure. This is the first time there's been an event that pops up. I don't know if it's specific to a certain event or if whenever they have events, they'll always pull up here. Not much to explain here right now. I haven't done much, and this doesn't seem really complicated. I just fight and it clears out, and then I move on. The rewards are there. I don't really know if I can come up with tips or trips. The training center is where you do all your leveling. Upgrade consists of just leveling your characters, and before they only had 4 slots and it was really complicated. Now you can actually have a smart option. Smart option usually gets rid of all your greens and grays first. If you do iRobots, it only takes your iRobots, and they tell you in this game don't use iRobots to fight because iRobots are basically just experience trash minions, and so you're gonna always use those to level up first before you level up your use your other characters to level up. And that's what the upgrade function is. Star level. This is basically increasing the star levels of a character. The higher the star levels they are, the more abilities they unlock. As I was saying, that purple enzyme is very hard to get, and in order to make a 4 or 5 star, you need 200 of them. The first 3 levels are simply fair, pretty easy. The first level doesn't cost anything. Second costs 5 of those purples, and I believe getting that 3rd star is like 40, and then to make it into a 4 star, it costs about 80. And they're hard to get. Let's see, what else haven't I hit? Gene Bank is basically just your typical card slot pull. My advice to you is to almost never do single pulls and always try to aim for 10 because you have a lot higher chance of, at least in my opinion, I don't know if there's somebody has broken down the tactics for it, and I'll do my best to save up 10 scrolls of each to show you the difference in the pulls. But you always want to do a 10 pull, be it acquiring them through events or just buying them, because it's a lot more effective that way. Not much to say there. That's the gene bank. Darwin Lab. This is a very important portion of the game. This is where you get to make all your blues into purples and purples into yellows and then so forth on. My advice to you on this portion is to check out that little, I can't really circle it here, but that DNA molecule thing on that right side of the screen. So that way when you're evolving things, you're not evolving things that are irrelevant. You always want to look to see what character is going to build what, so that you're not wasting your evolutions or your characters to merge. For example, some characters aren't used in the further evolution. So, for example, this guy, oh, you just made it into a purple, or even this guy, you made him into a purple, but can he go any higher, or is he required as a material for any of these yellows? And the answer, okay, well, this guy was, but this guy wasn't. Let me double check so I'm not talking out of my butt. Alright, so as an example, you make this guy into a purple, that's where he stops, and he doesn't provide any benefit to the further evolution of any other heroes. However, sometimes you look at these other branches and they do require characters out of a different element. So I'm going to double check again to make sure. Oh, I lied. I don't want to remake this video again, so I'm just going to go on with it and say that just double check to make sure that these characters are beneficial to the character upgrade that you want, and you're not just making random ones because you just want purples. That's pretty much the gist of it. Purples are also very handy for the Institute. which I'll get back to. I'm kind of going all over the place, so I'll come back. Airship is a way for you to gain resources without having to spend any gems. It's really simple. I've already used up all my turns today, but once you beat a mission, you can sweep it, and it's easy. My advice for at least the gold portion of it is to not refresh your gems, because it's cheaper to just do a Midas pull in the earlier stages. As you get further and you get more gold, it's definitely worth it. The relics, it provides you with the experience trash mobs. The mine exploration gives you the materials needed to upgrade your gear. In my opinion, they should boost up the amount they give you, because stuff starts to cost a lot. Arena, I don't think it's unlocked till you're a certain level. Nothing special about it. You set up your tactics. That's your defense team, by the way, so make sure you set that up right. I can give you a tips and tricks video on the arena later. And you get 3 free matches a day. And then after that, you have to use these arena tickets. You can buy them, but usually when you have an event going on, you can farm up a bunch of them. And there's also an arena event, so you don't want to use all of these just then, because there are certain events that happen where you have to do a certain amount of arena battles, and you definitely want those scrolls. So this game's a lot about saving up. For example, go back to the event center, but this requires those baby binkies. Most of the time, you'll find an item and you have no idea what they do. They're usually going to be used for something that happens later on. Now, the bounty mission is something that happens once in a while. It's not all the time. It's an event, and it requires the bullets. If you guys are ever wondering what those little bullets are, they're for the bounty mission event. So farm those as many as you can. If you got the gems, buy them in the store before an event happens so that you're well prepared. And the bounty event is actually my favorite, because it provides the rewards are pretty decent. Like, for example, this one was 9, and I can explain. I'll make a video about the bounty mission a little later, because it just takes a lot of a time to explain thoroughly tactics. It's just a simple gist. This is the bounty mission. It's available once every like 2-3 weeks, something like that, and that's what the bullets are for. Now we go into the Institute. The Institute is where you buff up your elements. Every character has an element. Every element has a weakness and a strength. They're all different, and it doesn't hurt leveling up every single one, even though your team might be almost all water. Because of the buff for entire team, it is factored into the levels of all the other branches. So if you look, those are the buff it provides. Mine is currently at level 85, so I won't see another team buff until 90. So either 5 levels into one, or 1 of each. And I'm currently using water, and that's because everyone has its own benefit. And I'll make a video further explaining the differences and what I feel is the best one. I'm water, because the benefits it provides, I think it's the best. And just a simple upgrade. My research level is a lot higher than most of the players on my server, because I made the boo-boo of sacrificing a bunch of purples to get it to where it's at. If you can afford to take the hit, then by all means do so. But I would make sure that you don't need these units before you sacrifice them. Greens and grays almost always go into research boost, just because they're practically useless. Greens and grays, never worth anything. So smart. Yep, same thing. Convert. There we go. Do I have a lot of characters of a certain thing? I have a lot of those, and I have a lot of those. Alright. I might be able to actually get that level 5 boost. Okay. 1 second. Excuse me for a quick second. I'm just, you know, doing what I can. Sorry if I wasted 30 seconds every time doing this. Basically, oh, look at that. Now since I've leveled up one for everything, I have hit the level 90 crit rate bonus. Well, that's it for the Institute and research. I'll go further into every element, weakness, advantages. Now we go into the more complicated part. Dungeon. Dungeon is where you unlock your chips. You can't do that until later. The higher level your characters are, the more chips they can equip. I do believe you had to be a certain level to start acquiring chips. You start off at the lower levels. You'll see that you start off with gray chips, and then that goes into green chips eventually, and then green, blue, purple, and then oranges. I'm at the purples right now, and when you sweep, it sweeps from the last level that you cleared. I'm currently stuck at 65, and I can't really go forward. So these chips are basically an additional equipment that you can put on your characters that enhance the attributes. And you can really kind of play around with what kind of chips you put on your characters and which one you want to increase them with. For example, you might want to have the speed chip is very rare, but it's there, and I like to put them on characters that have some form of crowd control. So that way they attack first out of anybody and always use their abilities first. I can break down chips and what's beneficial for each character as I go on. This is just an intro video, so I don't want to go too far into it. Basically, dungeon equal chips, upgrade chip material as well as the levels of the chips. Chip center is where you do all of what I just said. Upgrade, I don't know what bulk upgrade does. Oh, I've never actually seen it. Select the quality of the chips you want to. I'll worry about that later. I'll actually do some research first before I do that portion. But upgrade basically means the level up increase of your chips. And that's the gist of it. You can either click and select which ones you want to use up first. And when you're upgrading chips, you'll get these experience chips that don't really do anything. Or you can use other chips to increase the levels. Just be careful which ones you're using, because sometimes you'll accidentally get rid of a chip that you don't want to get rid of. Advance is turning the quality of your chips from one color to another color. If you're trying to go from green to blue, when you use these blue stones, you'll get 100% guarantee that it'll move on to a blue. However, if you're using a bunch of greens to level up a green to a blue, the percentage that it's successful is a lot lower. I'm currently trying to get my chips up to yellow, and so I don't have any yellow upgrade portions, so I'm going to have to use all purples, and my chance should be at 14%. That's really not that high, and so you're better off trying to go about it. But let's see, for example, I will use smart 14.4%. Usually not going to succeed unless you got enough to go about it. And now I'm all out of purple, so I'm starting to use blues, and as you can tell, the chance to advance goes even lower. So there's really, you might want to save those to upgrade your blue chips into purples and just use that to feed experience to your other chips and stuff like that. But that's the gist of chips. Upgrade and advance, not much to it. And I think I have covered most of the portions. Yeah, there we go. Sorry for the awfully long video. You guys make sure to keep doing your daily tasks, because if you don't spend real money on it, it's a good way to stack up gems real quick. My advice is to watch what clones you're getting rid of, because sometimes they feed into other things. Can't really think of anything else off the top of my head. And always participate in events, because the rewards are pretty solid. You always want to try to get these perfect clone blueprints, because once you have 10 of them, you can do a lot of damage with that. Other than that, I don't have much else to say. Well, I guess there's a guild function, you know. Find yourself a nice guild, because a guild store is actually decent and you can get a lot of set items that way. Yeah, I can get a couple set items here and there. So yeah, this is the good stuff. So, you know, find yourself a nice guild, participate in guild wars. You get a free attack every 7 hours. You can keep challenging, but eventually it gets really expensive. So, you know, the rewards for participating are pretty decent too. Other than that, I don't think I have much more. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, specific videos you guys want to see, just put it down in the comments before. Feel free to message me, and I'll do my best to make more videos. I got a couple videos coming up, I guess, breaking down tips and tricks for, you know, things like expedition, campaign, bounties, arenas, and stuff like that. I'm not, you know, the most powerful player, obviously, in the server or the game itself, but I have a decent amount of knowledge on this game. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry it was kind of long. Take care.